Tonight, if you're hearing my voice, make sure that you're truly awake. Because maybe, right now, you're still inside your own dream. A dream where the line between real and unreal disappears. Where the things you thought you had forgotten are still alive, hiding in the dark inside you. I don't remember exactly how that night began. I just know that when I opened my eyes, I was standing in a narrow alley. A pale yellow streetlight cast its dim glow over puddles that reflected my distorted face. The air was cold, the wind howled, carrying with it a faint metallic smell like rust. I knew I was dreaming. But everything felt too real. Every footstep, every breath, every drop of water falling onto the bricks was sharp and clear enough to make me shiver. I walked through the dark alley, feeling as if someone was watching me. Every time I turned around, I saw only my shadow, stretching long under the light. But there was a moment when that shadow no longer moved the same way I did. I ran. I didn't know why. I just felt an invisible fear chasing me. And then I saw it, a house, standing at the end of the alley. Familiar, in a way that made my stomach tighten. The dark wooden door, the old hanging lamp swaying in the wind, and the chime that clinked softly like teeth rattling. I was sure I'd been there before, but I couldn't remember when. I pushed the door open. Inside was pitch black, except for a faint ray of light slipping through a dusty window. On the wall hung dozens of photographs, faded, blurry, covered in dust, but the faces in them were all mine. Not one or two, but dozens, maybe hundreds, each one of me in a different place with a different expression, happy, angry, sorrowful, lifeless. Some of those places I'd never seen before. Some of those moments had never happened. When I woke up the next morning, my body was soaked in sweat. I told myself it was just a dream. But when I looked at my desk, there was a photograph lying there. The same one from the dream. The same angle, the same light, even the tiny scratch in the corner, identical. I tried to find a rational explanation, hallucination, sleepwalking, fragmented memory. But the more I tried, the deeper I fell into something I couldn't explain. The next night, I dreamed of that house again. The same walls, the same smell, but this time there was something new. A clock. Its hands were frozen at 3:33. Each time I looked, the second hand ticked just slightly, like it was counting down. And I heard a voice calling my name, soft but clear, whispering right beside my ear, "Don't forget me." After that, I started keeping a journal. The third day I wrote, "I saw the house again. There was a strange scent. Someone's watching me from behind the pictures." By the fifth day, I started noticing signs in real life. The neighbor's cat hissed every time I passed by. A wind chime, the same as in the dream, hung at the alley's entrance. And every night I woke up at exactly 3:33 a.m. Then, one morning, I found a letter in my mailbox. No sender. Inside was a folded piece of paper with just one line, scrawled in uneven handwriting. "Don't go back there again. You know why." I recognized the handwriting. It was my own. I began researching recurring dreams. They say if a dream keeps coming back, it's your mind trying to tell you something. But what scared me most wasn't the repetition, it was the progression. Each time I dreamed, that house decayed a little more, and the pictures on the wall grew clearer. In one of them, I saw another figure behind me. Someone who looked exactly like me, except for one thing. He had no eyes, just two empty black hollows. I took the photo to an old feng shui master I knew. He stared at it for a long time and then said quietly, "What you see in that dream isn't just a dream. You might be looking at a piece of your soul trapped somewhere." I didn't understand, but that night, when I looked in the mirror, I saw a handprint, dark and bruised, right on my shoulder where I had been touched in the dream. I decided to find that house. It took me a week, but I finally found an old neighborhood on the city's edge that looked exactly the same. And yes, the house was real. The same door, the same lamp, the same chime. I stood before it for a long time, trembling but unable to walk away. Finally, I pushed the door open. Inside was empty. Only dust, decay, and the smell of something long dead. The outlines of picture frames still clung to the walls, but the photos were gone. In the middle of the room stood a cracked mirror. I stepped closer. My reflection was there, but not quite right. The image flickered, and the face in the mirror smiled while I didn't. Then, a low, rasping voice came from within the glass. "Who do you think you are?" Darkness swallowed me. When I came to, I was lying outside the door. In my hand was a photograph of me, unconscious, on that very floor. I went to an old temple. The monk listened, then said, "Your dream isn't an illusion. It is memory, the echo of karma not yet released."
In every life you leave behind a part of yourself in the place of your greatest pain. When those parts call back to you, you dream. He told me the photographs were marks of past lives. The house was where I once died, and the man in the mirror was my soul, still trapped there. He instructed me, "Tonight, before you sleep, light an incense stick. Call your name 3 times and say, 'If this is my karma, I accept it. If this is resentment, I release it.' When the heart is clear, the dream will fade. When the heart is clouded, the dream will devour you." I followed his words. That night, the wind rose, the candle flickered, smoke coiling in strange shapes. I sat before the mirror and called my name 3 times. My voice trembled, and then another voice, deeper, answered from behind. The candle went out. In the darkness, I heard slow footsteps drawing closer until they stopped behind me. A cold hand rested on my shoulder. Then that same whisper breathed against my ear. "Thank you for finally remembering." My body froze. I didn't dare turn around. In a flash of light, I saw through the mirror a face exactly like mine, smiling behind me. When I woke, daylight filled the room. Everything was still. Only the half-burned incense and the shattered mirror remained. I thought it was over, but when I walked out, my mother looked at me strangely and asked, "Why are you wearing that shirt? I've never seen it before." I looked down. The gray shirt, streaked with black dust, was the same one I'd worn in the dream. That night, I didn't dream again. But the next morning, when I looked in the mirror, my reflection seemed slightly different. I couldn't say how, only that the person in the mirror was blinking out of sync with me. Dreams are never meaningless. Each time you fall into the darkness within yourself, remember, whatever's watching you in your dream is learning how to step outside. Don't let it find you first.